While being put in handcuffs for the first time in my entire life, Police Sergeant Taylor Rollins told me I was arrested for making his job a lot harder than it needs to be. That's a crazy, contemptuous thing to say. And even if his claim was true, it's not against the law for a government employee to feel like they actually have to work hard. You would think that the district attorney would quickly reject such a bad arrest, but that's not what happened. Instead, I'm being subjected to cruel and unusual prosecution. Cops and prosecutors routinely lie. And when you are a liar, video cameras are your worst nightmare. And that's why the local government club thinks they must take me out.
We should not let this sheriff intimidate someone for trying to express themselves.
As you may recall, I was arrested a few days before Christmas in 2021. After the holidays, my attorney reached out to the District Attorney Intake Division and provided them with the backup camera video of the arrest. Throughout this entire ordeal, the District Attorney has known exactly what really happened. They have the videos. Rather than return my video journalism equipment, a week later the county obtained multiple search warrants against me. That's highly unusual, actually unheard of, for a Class B misdemeanor charge. As you would expect, most search warrants relate to allegations such as murder, robbery, theft, controlled substances, and blood draws. Rather than focus on those pending cases, the robbery and homicide detectives came after me. Still, the district attorney did not formally charge me. In Texas, misdemeanor charges are filed by information with a criminal complaint. I quickly found an example out of Harris County where they provide online access to court records. This is an information for an interference charge. They claim a man pulled his arms away to prevent being handcuffed. That's a classic example of an interference charge. Notice that the assistant district attorney stated an action allegedly committed by the defendant, namely, pulling his arms away. To file a charge by information, the prosecutor simply provides notice of the charge, along with a sworn complaint that demonstrates that probable cause exists. It is filed at the district attorney's discretion alone. However, for a felony charge, the allegations are reviewed by the grand jury, which can either indict or no bill the case. Throughout the rest of winter and most of spring, there was no formal charge against me. And the district attorney's office said they would let us know when they had a charging decision. By the way, the Harris County interference charge I just showed was quickly thrown out by the judge, who found there was no probable cause for the allegation. In Harris County, the magistrate court judges review the cases when you arrive at jail, and then once you are assigned a court, randomly, the county court judge again evaluates whether there is probable cause. In May, I published an update video pointing this out. May 6th is the first time I will appear for something that happened 5.5 months ago. I have not been magistrated. There has been no finding of probable cause. No formal complaint has been filed. The court records state I have a pending cash bond, whatever that means. The criminal and justice system in Fort Bend County is backwards and behind times. I would not be in this situation had I been filming in Harris County. The officers would have been required to obtain approval from the DA intake prior to the arrest, and the DA would have had to immediately file the charge, or I would walk. But the Fort Bend County Government Club wants as many people as possible in the system. The police state is big business, and they don't want me to reform it. Less than 2 weeks after my video aired, on May 16th, the district attorney had the grand jury indict me on a Class B misdemeanor charge of interfering with the public duties. That's unusually unusual. A few days ago, I searched for hours and was unable to find any other misdemeanor indictment in Fort Bend County from 2022. I'm not sure if there has ever been a Class B misdemeanor indictment for an on-view arrest other than what they have done to me. Grand juries are not used to charge misdemeanors. The only rare exception is for certain public corruption charges, such as when Rosenberg Assistant Police Chief Tracy Dunn was indicted for the Class A misdemeanor charge of official oppression after allegedly kicking a handcuffed woman. But a grand jury indictment for official oppression may be reasonable since misdemeanors involving official misconduct are tried in felony district courts. My charge is not heard in a felony court. Nonviolent Class B misdemeanor interference is one of the lowest offenses that can even be heard at the county courthouse. There is no legitimate reason why such a charge would be referred to a grand jury.
You've had months.
I understand. And honestly, I looked at that and said, hey, yeah, why is this still here?
Because it's me. This is retaliation against me and Justin.
Honestly, Mr. Grant,
what
I
it
tell
is.
you, from our office perspective, I don't mean to be insensitive, but there are hundreds and hundreds of cases. You're one of them. And I don't mean to be rude. You're not special, right, in that sense.
Right.
Okay, that's not the way we operate. I understand your position, and I understand what some of you guys do, and you probably do get that feel from people and places, and maybe from Rosenberg. Hey, but we're not going to do that to you.
Because
It needs to be looked at, and I told people, hey, listen, it needs to be looked at.
I think John wants all misdemeanor cases timely filed, not just his.
That's Executive Assistant DA Wes Wittig. He's basically the chief of staff and spokesperson for the office. He claims I am not special, but after being indicted like this, I'm feeling way too special. More recently, Wittig explained the indictment.
They should know by now, because it's been a while, that we said, and I think there's transfer paperwork maybe to push it to the right
that's
spot.
what I need. Okay.
That was a long time ago. I'm a little shocked that that's not resolved.
Oh yeah, well you can pull it up online, if you want to look into it, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I believe you.
I'm ready for the
That was a long
speedy
time
trial,
ago.
so I agree it was. So let's lay it all out. I think my attorney emailed y'all very promptly, a week or two after I was arrested. So,
Yeah, I think he was in touch pretty soon.
Why
Yeah.
can't you take a misdemeanor to the grand jury? I only see that with police officers. I don't think I've ever seen it with a regular citizen.
It happens. I mean, it's not the norm, but it gives you, a security blanket, I guess, in a way, to be honest. But it gives 12 citizens a chance to look at something and give you that advice. Hey, listen, is this good or not? And,
well, y'all probably had an assistant district attorney in there too, right, or more?
well, that's who presents it.
Yeah, no, their citizen didn't present the case on me. Your office did, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the way it works. But
Interesting.
A security blanket? It sounds to me like the district attorney is more concerned about protecting the local government club members than acting in the interest of justice. Fort Bend County brags that it proactively seeks ways to prevent the county and its employees from being exposed to legal actions. However, bringing about criminal prosecutions to shield officers from civil liability is cruel and unethical.
but it gives you, a security blanket, I guess, in a way, to be honest.
The prosecutors might think they are escaping accountability for their charging decision. At the least, they may try to convince less educated audiences that they did not charge me and instead blame it on the grand jury. Remember the criminal complaint that must accompany an information? It must be sworn to by an affiant and be attested to by the prosecutor. However, the complaint in my case is unsworn and invalid. Intake Division Chief Laurel Elliser did not sign it. By obtaining an indictment, the prosecutors sidestepped the process of signing off on the charging instruments.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is that there's not equal representation. So you have an ADA goes in there and basically says, hey, this is what the police said. And unfortunately, we know that the police lie. I mean, nobody's over and over and over again. So you end up with some poor guy getting indicted and then having to wait around to go to trial or go to trial, and it just ruins people's lives. And I don't think that the system as is should be allowed to continue. I think it should be overhauled, and we should allow, equal representation. Right. If you have an attorney, if you don't, well, then you get it together. But if you hired an attorney, he should be able to go up there and give the alternate version of what occurred.
Well, his office hasn't even interviewed me. They didn't let me know they were bringing it. I mean, I did a video on Friday and on Monday.
You have to have the attorney.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. They haven't contacted the attorney. I did a video on Friday. On Monday, they indicted me. I mean, I would have, you know, I would have probably answered any of the grand jury questions. They could have summoned me. I don't think I got a summon. If y'all summoned me, I didn't get it.
No, that's true. I mean,
It would be unusual. It's not.
It's pretty unusual to indict a Class B misdemeanor. I bet it probably hasn't happened in a while here.
What's the last Class B misdemeanor y'all had an indictment on?
I don't know.
It didn't involve a police officer.
Yeah, it did involve a police officer. Were y'all trying to hide and protect each other?
Come on.
The DA did not notify me that they were bringing my case to the grand jury. They did not give me the option to testify before the grand jury. Then what was presented to the grand jury? And why didn't they want the grand jury to hear from me? The sworn police report by the arresting officer contains numerous misrepresentations about what happened. It's a textbook example of a lie report. Rollins swore that Justin did not move and that he just stood there. Rollins told numerous other lies. However, I must wait until his cross-examination to reveal those issues. Had I testified to the truth, supported by video evidence, would the grand jury still have returned a true bill? I guess it's possible since prosecutors have tremendous influence over the grand jury. Like the saying goes, the DA can indict a ham sandwich.
They don't approve everything. It's not the old indict a ham sandwich thing. But
Yeah, no, they don't approve any of the cases against the cops. I got the spreadsheet. Yeah, except for the one.
Criminal trials are adversarial proceedings. Although my defense attorney must protect my interests, my side above all else, the same is not true of the prosecution. The district attorney and his assistants must act in the interest of justice. Chapter 2 of the Code of Criminal Procedure states that it shall be the primary duty of all prosecuting attorneys, including any special prosecutors, not to convict, but to see that justice is done. But this trial is not about justice, it is about political retaliation. Don't take only my word for it that the Fort Bend County justice system has been hijacked for political purposes. Let's also hear it from District Attorney Brian Middleton himself. During campaign season, Middleton was the attorney for a woman who was arrested after Sheriff Nails complained about her bumper sticker, "Fuck Trump" and "Fuck you for voting for him."
Clearly, this was a public relations stunt designed to curry favor with conservative voters. And this is an American issue. It's not a black and white issue. This is about the First Amendment, and we should not stand for it. I intend to defend Ms. Fonseca with every fiber in my body. This is wrong, and we will not let it stand. The Supreme Court has said that it's a matter of taste and style, that this is the individual's choice. Now, what he's asking, there is no expectation of privacy while you're driving around. When you leave your home, you're in public. The timing of the arrest and every aspect of it suggests that Troy Nails intended, by threatening her with criminal prosecution, to deny her her First Amendment right to freedom of speech. Now, let's keep in mind that the First Amendment was chosen as a First Amendment for a reason. The framers of the Constitution understood that this was very crucial to a democracy. If we're not free to express ourselves, then we're not free. We're not a third world country. We're not Korea. This is the land of the home and the home of the free and the brave. We should not let this sheriff intimidate someone for trying to express themselves. Absolutely. We are considering filing a civil rights action against the sheriff for violating her constitutional rights. We hope also that authorities, including the Texas Rangers and the FBI, will have some interest in this matter and investigate it as well as an abuse of authority. We need to take a stand as a community and make sure this doesn't happen again.
I'm not convinced that Middleton actually believes the things he said. It was just pandering to gain political points. If he does believe it, he has not applied the same principles to his friend and partisan pal, Sheriff Eric Fagan.
Is it a great day for you? You got him?
Why would it be a great day?
Because he's in a cage now.
But
You can join
He's in
them
the
once
cage.
you cross this line.
I ain't crossing the line.
Okay. You good?
Like Justin, I don't break the law.
You said unlike Justin?
I said like Justin, I don't break the law.
okay.
But you still put him in a cage, sir. So we get Justin out of the cage yet, Mr. Fagan? Why are you gonna walk up on me like that? What do you think that's gonna do? You think that's gonna intimidate me, Sheriff? I stand up to men with guns every damn day. There's absolutely nothing. There's absolutely nothing you can do.
Say what you said one more time.
I can stand up to men with guns every day, sir.
Oh, okay.
Every aspect of it suggests that Troy Nails intended, by threatening her with criminal prosecution, to deny her her First Amendment right to freedom of speech. We should not let this sheriff intimidate someone for trying to express themselves.
This ain't gonna look good, Sheriff.
I bet you Justin won't do it again.
I bet he didn't do anything wrong. I bet he beats the charges too. I bet he did. What's your name, ma'am? What's your name?
Chief Provost.
I am in the trenches fighting for the rights of and justice for everyone. I am working to create real change. Many politicians and political organizations claim to be advancing these same values. But are they really what they claim to be? These political hacks rely on the ignorance of voters and supporters. Politicians like Brian Middleton want you to believe their political propaganda without verifying whether the politicians actually do what they say they will. District Attorney Middleton wants you to think that he's a huge advocate against police misconduct. In 2020, he paraded around as a supporter of the Fair and Just Prosecution Project. On his Facebook page, he campaigned to reform policing top to bottom. Of course, that was before his buddy, Eric Fagan, was a top officer. Middleton claimed to support the Blueprint for Police Accountability and Reform, which was a new vision for policing and the justice system. The organization must have believed Middleton's intentions to be true because his message was the first thing they presented in their blueprint. Middleton said, "We must begin the process of meaningful reform, which requires open, honest discussions about human rights and racial disparities in law enforcement." The blueprint said we must decriminalize substance use and conduct based on the manifestations of mental illness or poverty. As you might recall, I was recording at the gas station, so police did not kill an elderly, poor, mentally ill man. I was putting Middleton's purported agenda into direct action. I am being prosecuted instead of promoted.
We have to come up with prevention. And the best way to do that is to have greater transparency.
I can go to the road if you'd like. I'm making sure they don't hurt your son.
Journalist Justin Pulliam's on
Would you like me to film for his safety or not?
Yes.
The blueprint calls on government to employ people like me, constitutional policing advisors, to report directly to police leadership to make sure departments operate in accordance with constitutional principles. The group, which Middleton pretends to support, calls upon police to protect the First Amendment rights of the community and to prohibit attempts to prevent citizens from videotaping public officer conduct. Importantly, the blueprint calls for increased police accountability, including the prosecution of police misconduct. Middleton campaigned on forming the first Public Integrity and Civil Rights Division of the District Attorney's Office. Middleton publicly claims his support for important reforms. But what does he actually do in practice? In August, I requested all convictions from the Civil Rights and Public Integrity units under Middleton. The response? 0 convictions! What is the point of Middleton's new division if they aren't prosecuting government criminals? My personal experience with the division is that they not only refuse to prosecute government misconduct, but they also make excuses to justify the government abuse. There's nothing to see here. Move along, pesky citizen journalist. I also asked about the status of excessive force and officer-involved shooting investigations. Again, there have been no convictions. Worse, not a single case has been tried. The DA is quick to justify police force and then use the bogus investigations as an excuse to cover up the records. Do you think it's a bit odd that Middleton publicly campaigns on reform and accountability, yet his official actions are to justify the police misconduct?
Have you launched any investigations into helping clean up the police department?
Absolutely. I will say that in fairness to the agencies in my community, we have not had the history that you've seen in other areas like Houston. Not saying that there's perfection out here. And I've discovered recently part of the reason why is most of these agencies out here are accredited. And that requires them to adopt certain standards. We also have smaller police departments. And so, you know, when you got an agency with 60 police officers in it serving a community, there's less room for error. There's less opportunity for cover up. You know, you go up 59 and you go to the city of Houston with HPD and they have over 5,000 officers, stuff gets covered up. If it's a question of excessive force, then we look at it real hard and determine whether or not it's right for presentation to a grand jury. But we've indicted police officers for misconduct. So, I mean, we're doing it. I just think that I'm just a little bit more fortunate to be in a community where we don't have as much of it.
So Middleton thinks that the police are out of control everywhere but here. That's beyond hubris. Regardless, Middleton continues to receive tons of positive coverage from organizations and establishment media. Last year, the State Bar of Texas named Middleton as the Prosecutor of the Year. Publications call him a model prosecutor. Arnold Ventures, an organization seeking to minimize injustice, recently pumped up Middleton as a progressive reformer who seeks justice and humanity. They wrote, in one instance, while serving as a defense attorney, Middleton recalled prepping all weekend for a trial, only to have the prosecutor dismiss the case moments before trial began. Middleton said it was a disrespectful act to both him and his client, who had the charges lingering for months. I never want that to happen to anyone else, he said. He's made an effort as district attorney to rehumanize people who are charged with crimes, who are legally innocent until proven guilty. People always focus on police brutality, but I always knew it was the whole damn system, Middleton said. It was the judges, it was the prosecutors, it was the probation officers, it was the clerks in the courtroom. From the top down, they all mistreat these individuals. He tells his prosecutors, don't hang these cases over people's heads when you know you can't prove it. You can't win every case. It's not our job to seek convictions. It's to seek justice. We have to do what's right, and we have to put aside partisanship and do the right thing at all times. My criminal defense expenses have already exceeded $10,000 due to the unusual prosecution and continual discovery games. And that prosecution is continuing under a faulty indictment. State law describes in detail the procedures that must be followed by the state when bringing about criminal prosecutions. The prosecution must also be in compliance with the Texas and United States constitutions. You might expect local government officials such as judges and prosecutors to follow the law. Unfortunately, the reality is the opposite. Local officials routinely disregard the law. Instead, they act based upon politics and emotions. The Code of Criminal Procedure lists 9 requisites of an indictment. The requirements are not complicated. It's akin to a first-grade coloring assignment where you color in a drawing according to a simple list of instructions. However, our brilliant publicly funded prosecutors cannot successfully comply with the most basic statutory instructions. I'll let you decide whether this is due to incompetence or the establishment culture that the law doesn't matter. They can do whatever they want. After receiving the indictment, I compared its contents to the legal requirements of a statutorily valid indictment. I immediately discovered that the indictment was defective on its face. According to Article 21.02 of the Code of Criminal Procedure, an indictment must appear that the same was presented in the district court of the county where the grand jury is in session. However, the bogus indictment against me clearly asserts that it presents in the county court of Fort Bend County. Additionally, in the header, it states county court at law. On a routine day, the prosecutors are churning people through the plea deal mill. But when the assistant district attorneys engage in cruel and unusual prosecution, their disregard for the law becomes more apparent. My attorney filed a motion to quash the indictment, arguing several reasons why the indictment was invalid. He argued that it was insufficient because it is not apparent it was presented in the proper court. Even then, the district attorney's office failed to see their error. They erroneously thought that we were arguing that a misdemeanor couldn't be indicted by a grand jury. Finally, in court, my attorney spelled it out step by step, showing them the specific language in the indictment. Only then did the peanut gallery of government attorneys gather around with concern, realizing their mistake. However, the judge remained silent on the matter. The prosecutors failed to follow the law, and the judges refused to make them. I wish I could show you video of exactly what happened in court.
I moved up the very front bench so I could hear, and I just happened to be sitting right behind the ADA, Assistant District Attorney, and your attorney walked up and he was trying to have a conversation with her. Before she even engaged in conversation with him, she looks back at me and looking over her shoulder and goes, "Is he recording me? Is he recording me?" She was really panicked that I was recording. Now, come on. I know I go to many trials.
Did she have a reason to think that you were recording her?
There was no reason to I didn't have any devices in my hand.
Did you have a camera in her face?
I did not have a camera in her face. As a matter of fact, all my camera equipment was set underneath the bench, if I remember right. It was set underneath, which is where I normally put it when I go into trial, because if I want to do a broadcast in between sessions or something of that nature, I have it with me so I can get the information to the public quickly.
And so how did that work out? Did she try to kick you out, or what happened?
She was, I don't believe she tried to kick me out. She was so focused on me, I don't even think she was paying attention to what your attorney was telling her. And your attorney was telling her some really good information that would have been very important for her to hear.
And so what was he saying?
He had a laptop with him, and he was actually trying to play a video, and he was showing, he had also in his other hand, he had the statement from one of the deputies, and he held the statement up and he was playing the video, and he clearly says, "This cop clearly perjured himself." That's what he said. And her reaction, you could see the look of defeat in her face at that point. For a mere millisecond, you could see the defeat in her face, and you actually hear her sigh. But then she remembers, oh, I got to kick back into ADA mode. She saw it. I could tell by the look at her eyes. She knew that she is prosecuting a bogus case, and she knows it. I think she even knows it's a losing case. But nonetheless, they have to go through with it.
I am telling you my story because I want you to understand how local government really works. I want to show you that the actions of government officials are often inconsistent with their campaign promises. They are not true to their word. Local government officials serve and protect only themselves and their friends. There is no justice.
We need to take a stand as a community and make sure this doesn't happen again.
I bet you Justin won't do it again.
I bet he didn't do anything wrong. I bet he beats the charges too. I bet he did.